we usually build our expertise in one specialized area, right? So you don't really see an astronaut that is also a professional football player.
If you don't have some sort of technical expertise in your business in some way, I think you're always going to hit a hard ceiling of how much you can get out of AI.
SOC 2, SOC 3, we had that discussion before. That means nothing. That means they have control of their system, not where your data is going.
People were running these scans on vibe-coded applications, and they were widely exposed.
It's literally the same exact thing as Claude Code. They just changed the name and they gave it a different interface, and then everyone went crazy.
If something happens, they will just change their TOS and you're back to square one.
They say customer data doesn't get sent to the LLMs. Well, it has to be sent to the LLM, because if the data is not sent to the LLM, then the LLM doesn't have an input to generate the output for.
It's like Alice in Wonderland, it's a rabbit hole, you know?
You can basically see that Microsoft can cut a lot of their staff because those people are doing nothing.
Welcome back to another LinkedIn Live session of AI law and infrastructure. This week we're looking at what actually happens when AI agents move from demo mode into real legal workflows touching contracts, repositories, and client data. We unpack the Claude Cowork hype, recent security exposures in vibe-coded apps, and what courts are already signaling about privilege and supervision. If you care about auditability, responsibility, and where your data actually goes, this one is for you. And we're live. We're back this week, another traditional episode, Sundays morning or afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. And this week we're without Stefan. Okay. So guys, is there anything particular you wanted to mention from what was interesting that happened last week?
Everybody's interested. I don't, Frode, go ahead.
No, I say it was not much. It's been very quiet since New Year, but we'll see. Maybe they are cooking up something big. Who knows? Well, yeah. It's been silent. Well, Claude is disrupting with adding features, but yeah, most of the market recuperates after a few days.
Yeah, they had last week. You sent me. What did they release already? The security scan.
Security scan, yeah.
Plugin, right? Or
it scans your repository or your code. I mean, if we can do security scans and do it properly, why not just integrate it into the code base when you code a website? I don't understand why you need a feature.
Use it like a prevention.
Yeah.
But I heard that there were, I remember this. And then I heard that people were running these scans on vibe-coded applications that are public. Frode is already laughing. And basically, Supabase today is being used widely, as a managed database service that runs Postgres in the background. But basically, this Supabase, there were a lot of Supabase instances that weren't configured correctly based on the best practices when it comes to secure coding and secure system design, and they were widely exposed. So there was another wave of exposed applications that was found after this plugin was released.
It's getting worse. I don't understand. But Supabase, if you use Manus, Supabase is already integrated. So you got no choice. Otherwise, you can run Postgres, which is basically Supabase, but then you need to control your accounts and.
Yeah, it's more like, Supabase can be self-hosted, right? And it seems that it's easy, but like if you open the Docker Compose file, you'll see like an endless, it's like endless spaghetti. There's like, I don't know how many microservices are basically.
I think it's 7 or 8 just to run Supabase. Exactly. Yeah.
And then each of these needs to be configured correctly within your network. And then you need to also read a lot of the docs to really understand how to configure it properly. So it's like, air-gapped. And people usually don't do that. People ask AI to do it, but then there's a lot of context for AI. So it drops a lot of important details.
Use it online. If you absolutely want to use Supabase, use the online version, then you're safe because it's already set up with the most basic security. So at least you're not exposed.
Yeah. does beat the purpose of self-hosting, because that you want to do that because you want to own your data.
Yeah, but if you want to self-host, at least have some control of what you're doing, so you can protect yourself. Don't become Supabase OpenClaw.
Shogun. Supabase OpenClaw.
Everything is open and exposed. It's crazy.
But Masai, you wanted to say something in the beginning, and then we just spiraled.
I forget. I think it was about everybody's really interested in anything with Claude. It seems like
Yeah, of course.
on law and
They're like,
legal specifically.
yeah. You
Yeah,
made quite a few videos on Claude, right? How to on Claude Cowork, how to use it for specific tasks and stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because it can be like you can be doing the same thing as you were doing before, but if you just say Claude, everybody's more interested. You know what I mean?
And
it's
Masai,
kind of,
what is like? You know, people are saying Claude Cowork is going to replace all the SaaS out there, but then I saw the other day a random guy had a point that it's not so much going to replace SaaS, then it's going to replace automation platforms. Now, very skeptical with the word replace, but how do you view it compared to NA10, for example?
it's different because N8N is deterministic. You know, like if you need automation, automation is gonna run the same exact way all the time, right? And that's not the same as a skill. Like a skill is, I think, like knowledge workers, lawyers will like skills more because it's more interactive. It feels like you're talking to like a junior associate or like an assistant or something, right? Whereas a workflow is different. But for me, it doesn't replace workflow platforms. What it can do is it can build workflows for you, obviously, which is good. But
Yeah.
like as you know, it makes setting things up, hosting them easy, connecting different platforms the same way. You can keep the same like schemas between platforms and all that kind of stuff, right? So I don't think it replaces that stuff. I think what's interesting though is that I think people start moving more towards one interface, right? Where you just talk to one assistant and it connects to all your platforms in the back end and you do everything in one place.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the direction that I'm seeing with these tools popping up. Like you have OpenClaw, you have Cowork, you have other agentic systems, but now basically everything changed when Cowork came, even though that this is not the introduction of agentic systems to the world. We saw that a couple of years ago already. Frode, you had a post about it today. I was laughing. But like what's new is that one of the biggest players in AI, right, Anthropic, built a cute little interface. So every non-technical person can use basically Claude Code.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because before you could only use Claude Code through the terminal, and people, don't really use terminals to interact with their computers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It shows the importance of marketing, I think, because it's the same exact thing as Claude Code. They just changed the name and they gave it a different interface. It's the same technology. And then everyone went crazy. Even with plugins, right? Plugins is just like a skill. It's a package of skills and a markdown files, and that's basically it. It's nothing new, but it just so that the most important thing is like how you market things and package them and communicate to people is most important.
Yeah. What's interesting is, so they did degrade the capability a little bit for me, or not the capability, maybe the control between Claude Code and Cowork, because so in Claude Code, you were able to give also Claude.md file, right? Like we're an agent, whatever. And then in Claude Cowork, you can only have skills. And then why that I think is powerful is because, or degrading the power, because so Vercel did a research recently. So they were comparing what's the pass rate of skills.md versus agent.md or Claude.md. And so they tested it specifically for a use case where you're developing something or vibe coding something, and then you're asking, you don't really know what kind of API versions to use. So you explain to your coding assistant what you want to do, and then your coding assistant goes and fetches the API docs, and then it figures out what kind of endpoint it needs to call to make that happen, right? Now, the problem there is that the documentation is changing constantly. Every few weeks, these platforms have new updates, so the APIs also change. And it's really hard. Usually the training data of the models that we interact with is like a few months old. So they usually don't have the knowledge of the latest API docs. And so they tried two things. First, encoding those API docs into skills.md, and then the other try that they did was they compressed the file, basically the API docs, and they put them directly into Claude.md file. And they realized that basically the accuracy with which the correct skill is going to be invoked is pretty low. It's like around 80%, whereas when you put it into Claude.md file, it's always 100%. And that makes sense because how skills are invoked is like there's the first layer that intercepts the input, and that one decides which skill needs to be invoked. So if it decides that the tool, which tool needs to be invoked, or which agent. So if it decides, if it makes a mistake when making this decision, which agent needs to be invoked, then the right skill is not going to be invoked. But when you have Claude.md, that is always passed with the call to the LLM 100% of the times. So in this case, it always has the context, right? So like, we're just figuring these things out. Researchers around this are just popping out, but like we're already developing so fast that we're okay, we don't need Claude.md, let's just abstract the UI and skills are enough, right? And you can rely on it. And it's probabilistic. As you said, when you use NA10, the automation is always going to do the same based on the trigger, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because with skills, it's progressive disclosure, right? It's like it doesn't give the whole thing. It only gives the context that's needed as you're going, right? Instead of Claude.md, that's a fair point. And I think that's how it is with all these things. That I think the more you try to simplify stuff and make stuff non-technical, you're always gonna have a capability trade-off. You know, like with automation, low-code platforms, it's an abstraction of code, right? But you have some level of trade-off with customizability and functionality and stuff like that for a more simplistic interface. I think that's the other thing as well. And I think about this too. Like, what do you guys think? I think there's like a prevailing belief that you're gonna get a lot out of AI without going in and learning the technical side of things. But I don't think that's true. I think you're always gonna be limited if you don't. I think if you don't have some sort of technical expertise, at least in your organization or in your business in some way, I think you're always going to hit like a hard ceiling of how much you can get out of AI. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's true. You need some kind of, like we said before, just to get the AI to read your files, you need structure. So yeah, and you also need people who knows your organization and where to put the AI.
Yeah.
I think that's why we see a lot fail now, because now they just adapt AI and try to connect it to everything. That will not work.
For the local setup you do, Frode, what models do you have people host locally?
That depends on their specs, because the bigger the models, the more RAM you need. So that depends on their budget, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, let's say you have a big client, big budget, they can afford anything they need. What's the best model you have them host? Like, would you have them host Kimi or what?
Yeah, if they have really big budget, DeepSeek or Kimi as open source. And then mid-tier, I would say you can run Qwen 235 billion. Very good value. But you're talking $60,000 and up.
Yeah.
So you need a budget. Yeah, so you need a budget. We have a comment?
We have a comment from Justin. I completely agree. Individual AI competency has to be relative to the organizational AI infrastructure in order for the two to work together. Yeah. I fully agree with this. Imagine you're trying to basically use one of the most complex things, which is AI technology. And it's not just about the complexity of AI, but it's also like AI is a percentage of the whole system. So what kind of a system needs to be built around AI for it to be usable, for it to be able to be integrated? Those are all the things for which you're going to require quite some technical competency to understand what are you even able to do and what's the probability of success if you're going to try this thing, right? You can't just try everything. We have limited resources. Every business has them. And we're also trying to use AI for legal work, which again has its own peculiarities, and it's also one of the most complex professions that is also regulated, which increases the complexity by itself. So I think you do need both competency on both sides of the spectrum in order for this to work. Now the thing is that lawyers are usually not, we usually build our expertise in one specialized area, right? So you don't really see an astronaut that is also a professional football player, right? Like it's one or the other, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it's also a little bit naive to expect that lawyers are going to upskill to that level, that they're going to be able to, develop these things at scale and also make them usable and reliable and robust in the long run. And we're also expecting a little bit too much for an engineer that is at the top of his or her profession to upskill to a level that they're going to be able to do lawyering. So I think that we need to be able to communicate very effectively between one and another, to partner up.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody has both of those, you get what's the guy, Case Text guy, the one that sold the company 600 million. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, the guy that JP Moeller.
Yeah, I think that's his name.
No, JP Moeller is one of the people that were working pretty closely there, but that's why I remembered him, because I interviewed him this week. They just started General Legal, like an AI native law firm.
Yeah,
but it's like, so every single firm that I talk to that is AI native is differently AI native, and they have a little bit of a different approach. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry for just intermits.
No, what's the guy? But you know what I'm talking about? The CEO. That's because I think he was a lawyer with computer science background. If you have both, then you can do something crazy like Case Text or something like that, where you build a big company.
Yeah. Okay, but still, bear with me for this one. You have a degree in one field, and then, or maybe you have 2 degrees, and then you go and spend the next 10, 15, 20 years, building experiences, doing one profession. Like you've been a lawyer for 20 years. You haven't been an engineer for 20 years, because like whatever you learn in school and whatever happens at work are 2 very different things.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But there's a lot to, I think there's a lot of opportunity at the intersection of both, of law and tech, obviously. And I think the other thing that's interesting, I was talking to a guy that has a company where they deploy like AI agent product managers or project managers in enterprises. And he was just saying that the whole idea behind AI is like basically trying to figure out how you can replace services, right? Because services obviously sell for a lot more than products do. And then with AI, if you can build architecture and everything around the LLMs, you can sort of start to replace like the different tasks that go into a service, and you can start to offer services with a very low, like at a really high margin, basically, right? Because obviously with a service, you have a little bit of a lower margin. You have to pay people you have, employees and stuff like that, right? But if you have robots that can do it, the margin is obviously a lot higher. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say, or not really?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have also 2 more comments. One that we missed. Go Masai.
No,
yeah. And the other one.
I can't.
AI and ethics go hand in hand. Lawyers' role come into intersection. Yeah. There's something interesting that happened this week, right? Like, so there were, and Frode, remember that article that Sarah sent us? She's an appellate litigator in Utah. So there were 2 cases, 2 court decisions this week. One was in New York, United States versus Hepner, and that set a precedent for, so there was a CEO that was a client in this lawsuit, and the CEO used a publicly accessible AI tool to generate some documents for the case. And then he basically wanted the protection of attorney-client privilege over those documents, and the court waived that because he was using a public AI platform, so no confidentiality there, no confidentiality obligations. So it was like he shared his data with the third party. And then, so that was the first one. And then the second one was Warner versus Gilbarco. That was in Michigan. So basically, one party used AI to prepare documents in litigation. And the court didn't waiver product protection, work product protection, because they treated AI as a tool rather than a third party, and held that internal legal work, even if assisted with ChatGPT, remains protected. So two lawsuits, two different decisions, because it depends on how did you use AI and whether your counsel was aware and was supervising how the AI was used. So there we see first precedents being set when it comes to how AI should and can be used for legal work.
I wonder sometimes why wouldn't anything change if people just use like Claude on Bedrock, on Amazon Bedrock, instead of regular Claude, or use OpenAI on Azure instead?
It's the same. You're still sending it to a black box. You have no control.
Yeah. It's still a third party.
I guess my question would be around like the confidentiality and the agreement and stuff like that,
I
right?
understand.
If you
that was one of the arguments actually for the court, that because it was a public AI tool, if it would be an enterprise tool, it would probably have a different impact. Sorry? No, that's what the court ruled in New York. That was kind of the part of the explanation as well, that because it was a public subscription, if it would be an enterprise subscription with different protections around the privacy, then it would be treated differently. But that was actually one of the things that because, so how did they say it? They literally said that the tool had, because it was public, right? Public subscription, it had no confidentiality obligations. And that was exactly the problem. If it would have, meaning if it would be an enterprise one, then it would have confidentiality obligations. It's about the confidentiality obligations, Frode.
But that doesn't make sense. That makes no sense, because if you do it through Harvey, they still send it away to a third party.
Then sense. Harvey is the third party.
No, read their terms of service.
Really?
Yeah, there is no way.
No, sorry. When you're in this situation, right? You're a client that used Harvey.
Yeah.
In that case, the Harvey, in this case, between you're a lawyer, you're using Harvey, but that was a client that was using public ChatGPT. So the client wouldn't have access to Harvey anyways. But when you're a lawyer using Harvey is already a third party to you as a lawyer. But Harvey's third party.
They also send it to a third party.
Yes, yeah. Which supposedly is in their control.
Yeah, that's what they say. But now Harvey is also integrated into the new Claude law.
I saw that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rok, you saw that or no?
That happened this week, right?
I just saw a small post that Harvey was now integrated into Claude, the law plugin. So things are getting interesting.
And also there was another plugin that was released a couple of days after Claude Cowork was released that integrated US federal, not sure which one, but US case law. Damn it, which one was it? Midas or something like that. Did you guys see that? No. Okay. But nothing for Europe yet.
No, nothing for. But Europe everything is open. So what are you going to integrate?
But you also have different system, right? You don't really have so much weighing on case law as you do in the US.
Yeah, but everything is open. I mean, go to any country in Europe and search for their laws. There is websites where everything is free. Even the EU, everything is free. You can make an account and you have access to everything.
Okay. I have a question for you.
Yeah, we have a comment. You want to take that first?
Oh, do we? Oh, yeah. Since some courts in US A represented by AI as models for court update. Oh,
Some court in the US.
I don't understand.
yeah.
Rock, I was gonna let you take that one.
Yeah, me too, because I don't understand.
Amrita, if you would kindly elaborate, please, because three of us are not able to get it. We apologize. But yeah,
But you see my point with that, because there's like you can actually make your data secure by running everything local, right? But a very small number of law firms are gonna do that, are actually gonna make everything
yes,
local. And then it seems like you can contractually make your data secure where it's like not discoverable and you have certain agreements and stuff like that. And that's where I'm thinking, I mean, if they just have like why not just use Claude only on Bedrock or use ChatGPT only on Microsoft Azure? And
oh
then
yeah, a
that would,
big reason would be capability, right? Because when you deploy your own AI model, your own Claude, Sonnet, or whichever, you are losing the benefit of the application that is built on top of it if you would go straight with Anthropic, right? With Claude.com or Claude.ai.
Yeah.
So like you need to build your own application layer on top of it, your own chatbot. So you're probably not going to build it as good as these devs are, because it's a huge team that is developing this. So that's one thing. But anyways, like in order to basically cover your ass, I think it's enough if you just basically go for enterprise subscription.
Yeah, which is how much for ChatGPT?
Sorry.
Enterprise, I don't know for ChatGPT. I know Claude has enterprise. It just says that it starts from 500 or 1,000 a month minimum. You have to pay regardless of use.
Per user.
No, it doesn't say anything about per user. It just states between 500 and 1,000 a month.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, because like Klarna went with the enterprise, and that was back 2 years ago when they decided to partner up with OpenAI, and they went for this enterprise plan, and at that time it was $1 million a year. Because I know that because Klarna went open with this, saying that this is gonna cost $1 million a year, but it's gonna give them more than 30 million, gonna produce more than 30 million of revenue. So for them it was a good calculation, but then it turned out to be different.
That's when he fired all the people, and now he needs them back.
Sorry?
Wasn't that when he fired everybody?
Yes. Yeah. First of all, they fired 700 support staff. Yeah. Then, because the customers were complaining about the quality dropping, yes, the response time shortened, but also the quality dropped significantly. And apparently, like, the customer satisfaction was at 40%, which is terrible. Yeah. And then they started hiring people back. And not just that, they also admitted that they were too focused on purely cost. That is not the only important metric in the business. It's also, I mean, if you're cheap, great. But if your quality service is low and you're losing customers, I mean, like, might be a bit more expensive. Might as well be. We have Amrita saying, oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Did you see Square, Jack Dorsey's company, what they did or no?
No.
I think they got rid of, they had 10,000 people. And he slashed it. I think he got rid of 6,000. They're gonna be 4,000 now.
And is it? Yeah, go ahead, Frode.
I was gonna say, looking at that guy, it's about time. Look at how he ran Twitter.
Yeah, so many people, huh? Yeah,
it's about time he started flashing people.
You know what's it? I think I was watching this YouTube video of a lady that was like somewhat of a manager at Amazon or something, right? Well, somewhere like high up where she was managing teams and stuff like that, right? And she was saying that a lot of the reason these companies are doing these cuts is because they overhired in the first place. They were saying like Amazon revenue per employee went from like 360K down to like 230K because they just kept hiring. So it's interesting because It's like I think a lot of the companies just made a mistake in hiring too many people in the first place, and now they're trying to correct it.
Yeah, you can
Every
see
time you look,
there is a channel on TikTok, a workday at Microsoft. Go look.
Ford, I wouldn't expect you to be on TikTok.
Oh yeah, I'm on TikTok. That's where you get the latest AI news.
Ah, really?
Yeah,
I get mine from Twitter.
Twitter is too messy. Too
Yeah,
many.
it's messy.
but guys, are you also on Truth Social for all the
No,
governmental news? No.
no.
No, True Social, no.
I
But
don't
what's
even
this?
watch TV, so why would I be on Truth Social?
What's this? What was this? What was this TikTok photo with the a day in the life? What is it like? Just they
A
have
day
too
in
many
the life
people
of
there.
a Microsoft employee. You can basically see that Microsoft can cut a lot of their staff because those people are doing nothing. They arrive late, they go to lunch, they have a cup of coffee, then they go outside to get some fresh air, then they go back and probably read a few emails, and then their workday is done.
And they go home. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the lady at Amazon was saying they had like at some point they had like 5 or 6 project managers on just to fix one thing in the UI, one button or something. It was like ridiculous. They had
Yeah.
there's way too many people.
But you have this in these big corporations, like you had in Facebook. There were apparently 40 people working on the like button. So, yeah,
Yeah,
like this,
right.
this happens. But yeah, we have
Yeah.
explanation from Amrita Shiment. There are AI models for court case updates. Ooh, would you use an AI model to update you on court cases?
Cases? No.
Why
No.
not?
Hallucinations, first of all. And well, it depends. Does it trace the source it's getting it from? That's the first question. If not, I wouldn't trust anything it will give you.
But also, what if we just so I'm asking you here, Frode, so we can kind of explain how these things work. But what if I just train AI, fine tune it on my court cases?
As a company, on your own company court cases?
Yeah, let's say, or no,
Or
I
just in
pull a
general?
data set. Yeah, just in general.
Yeah, but court cases and rules get updated quite frequently, so you'll be outdated before you finish training.
Yeah, exactly. That's the yeah.
So you're just basically wasting money.
Yeah,
There's no
and
point.
also we were discussing this a little bit 2 sessions ago, but with fine tuning, right? People think. I think there's another myth around fine tuning that you just create your perfect data set with perfect data. You train the model on this new data, and the model will basically stick to this when giving you answers, right? But that's
No.
fine tuning is not something that happens once and it's done. Once you fine tune it once, you're gonna have to keep on fine tuning it. The chances of getting it right the first time are very small.
Yeah, very slim.
It's also not like in when you're building a system as an engineer. You try something and it doesn't work, it throws you a big fat red error. So you know you did something wrong. When you fine tune it, you're giving it a data set, and then you run a job with which you train AI, and then you see what you're getting back after it's done. And then there's no clear correlation between which pieces of your data in the training data were wrong. You need to kind of figure that out on your own as well. So it's like a very complex thing to do.
You need AI for your training. You need AI to tell you what training data to have for fine tuning your AI. Basically, sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a difficult thing because you also change its behavior. So you got to know what you're doing when fine tuning. So it's not
And
straightforward.
there's diminishing returns now with fine tuning, especially as the models get bigger and bigger, right? Because if you're talking about like Claude or Chat or GPT-5 at this point, with how big the models are, it's like how much are you really going to change the weights and biases with the fine tuning?
You
Do you know
need
what I
to
mean?
use open source to do
Yeah,
it.
right.
Yeah, And,
Yeah,
Yeah.
open source with open weights.
and
Yeah.
start with small models. Otherwise, you will spend a lot on compute and have no clue
Nothing like
of the
yeah.
outcome.
And I heard of something else the other day. It's like model collapse. You heard of this?
Yeah.
Where it's like if
Oh,
you
yeah.
give it where basically if you fine tune it too much on a training set, then it
It gets
forgets
dumb.
everything else. Yeah, and it only knows the training set and it forgets like how to spell blueberry and stuff. You know what I mean? It forgets everything else, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. And also with the reasoning, it's interesting how there's like, almost a boiling water effect. When the water doesn't boil at 99 degrees, but it does boil at 100, that's also how the reasoning of the LLMs collapses. It's like, and it doesn't give you really a signal that it went completely rogue because it's still giving the output pretty confidently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will gaslight you. So
It will gaslight you. Yeah. Guys, how do you run agents securely? It's like a question for like 2 hours of an answer, but yeah.
we should ask the founder of OpenCloud to come and tell us.
Peter.
No, but how do you run them securely if you don't, for example, if you use Claude Cowork or something similar to Cowork, which is like an end product. It's not a code that you run yourself. So how would you secure them then?
Sandbox it.
That's your only way, basically. That's the only weapon that you have in this.
Yeah, I don't see any other way.
Yeah, and
Because
controlling which
then it's
data comes
isolated in a virtual machine. So, I mean, you're pretty much limited to doing something wrong. If it does something wrong, it's on a small virtual machine. You can just stop it and it's gone.
Yeah. How would you? So there's this one thing that I'm really like concerned about when it comes to Claude Cowork, even more than other things. So, okay, so Claude Cowork is saying, let me just open this up. Okay. Cowork activity is not captured in audit logs, compliance APIs, or data exports. And so how would you monitor the activity if it's not captured in audit logs?
Yeah, no observability.
You have
Yeah,
to
so
build
that's
your
the
own
problem.
framework. But can you do that? No, you can't.
If
You
you're,
can build it as an MCP, maybe.
yes,
I don't know.
If you own your own network,
Yeah,
you're able to do that to an extent, because how are you going to identify Claude Cowork's activity in the network? How is it different than any other person's activity? So
yeah, it's impossible. And if you are like normal users, you have maybe YouTube going, and you have maybe a few browsers. I mean, every traffic is the same out.
yeah.
But maybe you can do it with MCP. I don't know. Can you do MCP on Cowork, Masai?
Yeah, you can connect MCPs, right? Aren't plugins basically MCPs?
Plugins?
Yeah. I think those are the main components of a plugin. You have the README file, you have the skills, and then you have connectors, MCPs, basically.
Okay, so
you can
that's
build a network to monitor some of it at least.
Yeah, that's the good idea, right? So if anybody wants to build after this session, then please build us an observability MCP server for Claude Cowork. That would be great.
Yeah. Use Langsmith as a starting point. You don't start from scratch.
Yeah. Can you self-host Langsmith?
No.
Then use Langfuse. It's
Can
pretty
you
much the
self-host
same
Langfuse?
thing. Yeah, you can.
Cool.
I was using it in every project so far. And it has a nice way for you to go through all these traces, because, I mean, it's one thing to say, look at your data, but when you open this thing and you see how many traces are there, then it's hard to go through all of it.
Yeah.
So you need a good UI.
They just integrated with N8N. Like they have nodes now in N8N Langfuse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I say just, I mean maybe 2 or 3 months ago, because I was on a call with the guy, Mark Klingen, I think his name, the Langfuse guy. And he was like doing like a live call in one of the communities I was in, and they just released the nodes for so if you want to do like workflows or whatever with LangFuse, you can use LangFuse nodes in it, and since 2 or 3 months ago.
That's like super important for auditability for regulatory purposes, but also like how the hell are you going to improve your application if you do not know how it behaves currently? And if you're not able to inspect traces, you don't really know how it's behaving currently. So yeah, that's for two very different reasons very important.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
great.
and but you have also others. There's Phoenix is also one that can be open sourced, I think. Yeah, and there's others. Like look at the alternatives for LangFuse and Langsmith, and you're gonna see a lot of the things. Yeah.
Yeah. There are a few.
There's one thing that I listened to a podcast, and it was about what Cisco is doing in this field of creating frameworks and technology and software to deploy these agents safely. And like this is only applicable for the event of, for example, if you want to run Claude, OpenClaw, or frameworks that you can literally pull self-host, you control the code. So what they're doing is you can deploy some sort of a software where it's based on the intent and whether the action was executed with a malicious trigger or not. It would identify agents and differentiate them from other pieces of traffic in the network. And then it would give them identity. And when you give something an identity, you can monitor how it's moving around in the system. And then basically, it would give ephemeral permissions that are very, very short-lived. Because, and bear with me, in traditional security, for example, Frode is an admin user, I'm just a user, and Frode would be given read and write access for Microsoft Word, which means that he can read all the files and he can also write into the files. He can change them, right? But I'm a normal user, I would only get read access. But this access would be persisting. It would be as long as Frode would be around in the firm, he would have this admin access, and those permissions would be tied to his role. What agents need is you need to give them permissions and you need to take them away immediately when the task is executed. Because the same agent, the same basically entity, is doing many, many different things. It cannot be scoped in advance and determined what it's going to do, because it will make decisions and it will do whatever it takes to complete the task. And so you need a completely different approach in security in basically, giving these permissions and the role-based access control and all of that basically needs to be rethought. So I found it very interesting in what Cisco is doing there. The only downside is that those are enterprise-faced solutions, so they're going to be incredibly expensive for,
Not for the normal people or small companies. We have an interesting comment.
Yeah.
I'm really considering a HATS platform to get firms off the ground. They say they are black box. How can I be sure of that? And what do you think of them for smaller firms, say 25 or less?
I heard about HATS. I would say that it's for you to be able to really say with confidence that this is secure. It's like, what does secure mean? So what industry are you using this for? Because what is kind of compliant in sales industry or in marketing agencies is maybe not compliant in finance. So what are the criteria first, and then you really need to do your due diligence when it goes to going through all the privacy statements and documents that they have. And then it would be very useful to jump on a call with some of their maybe staff engineers, maybe somebody that is leading these teams or product people that can actually give you the answers of where is the data moving. Ask them for the data flow diagram.
They will never tell you.
Some of them do. Some of them
do. They really?
Yeah, like smaller and startup ones do, because they are motivated by you, by selling. And if this is the way to bridge the trust barrier between their prospect and them, yes, they're open in doing that as well. I talked to Elgar Weitmans. They're doing this with everybody that they're considering integrating into their law firm.
Yeah, but it basically says they say they are a black box, which for me is a red flag immediately.
Oh, wait. I misunderstood. all of these words for nothing. But basically, if they're a black box, in what sense are they a black box? Just in a sense that they don't even know where they're sending the data, or?
And I saw that the website, it says SOC 2, SOC 3. We have had that discussion before. That means nothing. That means they have control of their system, not where your data is going.
But they do work with, I heard about them, they do work with like regulated industries. They have quite some clients there. Like if you check their client list.
So does Mistral, but they still host their LLM on Amazon. So that means nothing.
So when you do, there's still a difference. So again, it's like, it's what is happening really versus can I cover myself? That's that type of a problem here when you host on Amazon or Azure. Because like, yes, you're putting stuff on somebody else's server, but they have policies with which they are promising that they are not looking into, they're running metrics on your data, they're not reading your data, basically. That's what's happening when you host on Azure and AWS. So like, from the legal perspective,
but they also have the Cloud Act, which trumps everything.
Yes. Okay, that's true. Yeah.
Well, I have my question. This might not be the best question, but my question about it is the like if with say you use LLMs on and your LLMs are hosted on Azure or they're hosted on Bedrock or whatever it is. I mean, what's the difference between sending your data off to get processed on Microsoft Azure versus you already have a Microsoft account and your client's data is already in the cloud on Word and all this stuff or SharePoint, or it's the same, no? That's what I'm, or even if you say, what's the difference between using Claude on AWS versus your files are stored in any like case management system? They all put the files in Amazon and AWS buckets, you know, like Clio, for example. It's in the cloud, and like Clio doesn't host the files. Amazon hosts the files. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So is there really a difference if you use an AI model on the same servers as where you're already hosting your files? I would understand, say if you're a bank or something and you have like, or say you're already covering all your bases and everything's local and your files are all stored on your own hardware in your company or whatever it is. But to me, it doesn't really make sense for you to have a cloud case management system. Your files are all on AWS anyways. I mean, why think twice about using Claude on AWS when all your clients' data is already on Amazon servers? I always thought about that.
Yeah, but that's actually a very good point, and I think that you're right. You already have files all over the cloud, so yeah, I mean, like, okay, so there's multiple variations of this, right? Let's say you're a law firm and you're using a public version of Google Cloud to Google Workspace to upload all your clients' files, right? Like that's already, you're doing something wrong, right? So you shouldn't be doing that. You should have a completely different subscription with completely different configuration on Google Workspace, right? But if you are like, let's say, paying for this enterprise subscription and all the DLP policies are according to your professional obligation and all of that stuff, yeah, like sure, use cloud services, but make sure that they're also under enterprise subscriptions. And the other thing that is completely different here is like before it was deterministic, now it's probabilistic. So you're going to see AI systems being connected to many different systems, and those systems might not be following the same procedures as the one that you think you're using, right? So you ask something in Claude, and Claude integrates with NCP server or another software service that uses a third-party provider for analytics, and that one doesn't really have the ISO 27001 standard. So then this is where this is your weak point in the system. But
that happened to OpenAI. OpenAI got the data leaked, and it was a third party.
Oh yeah.
They are on Amazon. Yeah. So yeah, proves your point. It says they say customer data doesn't get sent or stored, and no training. That's what everybody says. But yeah,
that's the basics, right? No training, and like it doesn't, like this is an interesting one. For example, right? They say customer data doesn't get stored or sent to the LLMs. Well, it has to be sent to the LLM, because if the data is not sent to the LLM, then the LLM doesn't have an input to generate the output for. So it is sent to it, And based on, I think the regulations pretty much across all the jurisdictions, there needs to be a certain data retention, which is, I think, 30 days. That's the
30
minimum.
days is minimum.
So they need to be storing your data for at least 30 days. And like the only way, Justin, you're going to know that is if you're going to see the DPA between them and their third party.
Yeah. But just to make a point, Justin, it's way better than having people sending everything to a free OpenAI account. Just so that's said.
Yeah.
If that's
And
the
yes,
if that's the trade-off, OpenAI for a free account, and you know your data will be used, or go with Hatch platform. At least you have that security.
Yeah, like the thing is, like, look, so we have AI providers, right? ChatGPT, Cloud, Anthropic, Gemini, whatnot. And then we have people that are building applications that are integrating the brains, right? And that brains are the owners of these brains are these companies that I just listed. And every single vendor is another point in the chain that has access to your data. So now you have to worry about two things. First, how your vendor is handling your data. Second, how is the data, how is the provider, the AI provider that the vendor is using handling your data? And you have to also worry about all the other things. Maybe your vendor built an application that connects to your email and then Word, and then, I don't know, many different softwares. Then maybe Salesforce pulls some data from there. Like, you gotta go and really make sure with each of the connections that I just listed, like, what is the data processing agreement? This is where you're going to see what is actually happening with your data.
And it changes across the platform. I was talking to, Anders, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. I was talking to him, and he was saying that they use Microsoft, obviously, where he works. And he was saying they were looking at building out some automations, I think, with Power Automate or Power Apps. But he was saying that the privacy agreement doesn't apply to everything. Just because you're in Microsoft, the one agreement you have doesn't apply to everything. So you can have privacy in like SharePoint, but that doesn't mean you have the privacy agreement in Power Automate, for example, or Power Apps.
Yes. These are different services of the Microsoft ecosystem. One service is Microsoft Word, one service is Power Automate, one service is Outlook. There's many services. And each of these services has its own privacy statement. And each of these privacy statements, if you go and you read them, they refer to other sub-policies because these services are using services behind the curtain. And the rabbit hole is really deep once you start going into this. That's why it's so hard to really physically map where is your data going, because there are so many different services or actors or points where your data is being accessed by different entities. So to really say with confidence, that's why you have people that you have roles that literally just look into those things.
Yeah.
Google's the same as well, or like Gmail, Drive, and Sheets, and everything
Of course,
everybody is the same.
Yeah. And you also have, like, each of these services has a different configuration. So let's say you went through all this labyrinth of different menu choices to how to configure the security that you don't even understand what you're reading, basically. You have all these configurations for, let's say, Outlook, right? And then you need to, as you said, you need to go and you need to configure stuff in Power Automate, and the configurations are different. The page looks different. Everything is different. So yeah, like, you got to do all of that stuff if you want to say that you are secure. That's why, like, these absolute statements of Microsoft is a secure environment, well, it depends so much
on the services you use.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. It's they also said in court that they can't guarantee your data. So
but a little bit of a shameless promotion. So Anna Guo and the legal benchmarking organization that she has, and also I collaborated in the committee along with many other people. We came up with something, and it is, I think, soon going to be released. It's like basically a checklist for vendors. How you really make sure that they're aligned with whatever your criteria as a user is when it comes to AI, legal AI tools specifically. But mind you, it's a little bit for, it's hefty. It's for not specifically for small law firms. It's for bigger firms.
For enterprise.
Yeah, it's like a proper due diligence checklist.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like AI liability attorney or firm would make a lot of money now, no?
You mean they are?
Yeah, they would, no? Like if any
They
attorney
are.
yeah, they are, right? Yeah,
I think they are, yeah.
It's like a lot of business. If you need a law firm idea, like a boutique law firm that only does AI and security and stuff like that, liability stuff.
Yeah, basically DPIA assessments and stuff like this. But yeah, again, you know how we've been talking in the beginning of the marriage between those two professions, right? Like, so engineers and lawyers when they're building stuff for legal space. It's also interesting that I think we need the same when it comes to, you know, these governance and compliance professionals, because these people understand very well the regulatory side of things. But it has been flagged to be by multiple lawyers that they don't necessarily understand the technical architecture of the systems that they're mapping. And so also with it goes that they don't really understand how physically the data moves through the system. So how are you able to, you know, give a certificate for the security and privacy of the system if you haven't mapped out where does the data go?
You can't. But they still do, so.
It's like Alice in Wonderland. It's a rabbit hole, you know?
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole. That's why we call it a black box. You never know.
Yeah.
It's at your own risk, because if something happens, they will just change their TOS and you're back to square one.
Yeah, the big ones can really afford that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Finally, send me the link of this discussion. Thanks, guys. Okay.
We will, Amrita. Thank you for expressing the interest. Makes us happy. Justin, did we help you in any shape or form? Or were we just saying a lot that confused you even more?
I think we scared him away.
But yeah, Justin, basically you also got to be, I think, more on the realistic side of things and also ask yourself whether the vendor is going through reasonable effort to protect the data. I think that is more important question than whether they are completely air-gapped, because that's kind of impossible today, I think.
Yeah, it's very hard.
I mean, like, everybody can be hacked, so good luck.
Yeah, well, it's gonna take an effort if you're air gap, but yeah, you can still be hacked, of course. But yeah, it's way harder.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Justin is happy with whatever we told him. Okay. Good.
Just don't start using OpenClaw. You'll be safe.
Yeah, don't use OpenClaw, Justin.
Frode, I felt attacked by your last post, by the OpenClaw post.
Why? I was just being honest.
Because
Just
I was
another
like,
cron job.
I was like, he's
Oh,
talking
it
about
is.
me. I have my almost $1,000 Mac Mini here right next to me, and I was like, ah.
Did you throw it away?
No, it's still here. It's still here. I was like, he's talking about me. I think you heard his feelings. I think you heard my OpenClaw's feelings, Frode.
I mean, you're the N8N man. You can run cron jobs in N8N. You don't need open.
I know, but I need the OpenClaw to create the cron jobs to run the cron jobs, you know?
Nah, bullshit.
Take this functionality from the platform, reverse engineer it, isolate it, and only use this. You're going to be safer.
Yeah, make it in Python. You're safe.
Invite.
In Python.
Python.
Yeah.
What is OpenClaw written in? Is it C?
I think
Node.
it's TypeScript, no?
Node.js. TypeScript.
TypeScript.
Why didn't they write it in C? Come on, like, get serious
Because
about
it. In Rust. it doesn't matter. It's wide open. Language doesn't matter when it's wide open.
Hold on, man.
Would be even more vulnerabilities in C.
No, TypeScript, 85% TypeScript,
Yeah.
10% Swift, 2.3% in Kotlin.
Okay, wait. So was he like a mobile developer before?
Yeah,
No,
iOS.
Because like
No.
I haven't heard this choice of stack by anyone that wasn't a mobile developer.
You know why he
Yeah.
had that stack?
Why?
I saw his interview at one point when he was making this OpenClaw. He had 7 Claude subscriptions coding.
Yeah, Claude, yeah, max. $1,400 a
All on
month.
Max.
Yeah.
So he didn't decide the stack. The Claude decided the stack.
Yes.
The stack, basically.
That's why you have a mess when you're done.
No,
At
but he
least
was
Huh?
he was iOS developer.
iOS developer. Yeah, you see, mobile.
Yeah.
Boom.
Swift.
Yeah, of course. Okay, guys. That was a good one. Right?
I think so.
Also, Justin is wishing us to have a nice rest of the day. Thank you.
Nice day.
Likewise.
Thank you.
And see you guys next week.
Yep.
Ciao.
Ciao.
The big takeaway from today's session is the following. Can you explain, defend, and supervise what your AI agent did? As tools get easier to use, visibility often gets weaker, and that's where the real legal risk concentrates. If you're rolling out AI in your firm or team and facing a specific challenge, drop it in the comments and we'll tackle it next week. See you then.